live here. There we go. Put a little light on the subject. Don't know how long it'll last, but we shall see. Hey, Ben, what's happening? Trying to do some wiring while I'm talking at the same time. Not a good idea. Maybe something I should have done before I got started tonight. You live and you learn. Well, we'll see how long the battery lasts on that. This is my studio light that I use for recording videos. Hey, Mickey. And it's, as you guys can see, it's not very big, but it's very big in price. But it's my kind of lighting thing rig that I use. And it's great, but the only thing about it is it has a terrible battery life on it, and it's the only way you can charge it is, of course, through USB. So it's what I use. I have another light here in front of me, but it's nowhere near as good as this one. Anyway, I'm not that great enough looking that I need to have that much light showing off my face. Hey, greetings. Hello. Glad to see you made it. Well, anyway, I'm glad to see everybody here. I'm glad we made it through another week. And we're able to sit here this evening and have a conversation, have a little talk. Yeah, man. Where do I want to get started here? Where are we at? Oh, okay. Got a few people watching. Great. Good to see everybody. It's a funny thing. So today I put up my regular content video, as I said last week, that's going to cover the Fender level set buffer that I got and how it works here on my pedal board here next to me. And it got me to thinking about the first subject for tonight. I actually titled it Pedals Are Hell. I've alluded to this with you guys before about pedals. We've covered, pedals in pretty good detail. But on a personal note, I really, I think that my fixation is not really so much with guitars. Once I find one or two that I like, I'm pretty happy. For the benefit, of course, of having a YouTube channel, I entertain more. But, I'm not going to be that guy that's just going to have racks and racks of guitars. It's just not me. I start to feel icky after a certain amount. Actually, to tell you it's true, I really do. I start to not feel good about it. Pedals, on the other hand, I got a sickness, guys. I gotta admit, I've got a problem. Because they're just so darn, fascinating. They really are. I, you get your pedal board to us if you have a pedal board, if you're using pedals, you get your pedal board to a certain point, and you start thinking to yourself, okay, great, even at the end of that video, I said, I'm really happy. I think I got this thing dialed in. I'm really happy about it. And there's yet another pedal again that I'm thinking about getting and putting on this board and trying it out. I'll be frank with you, and I think this channel kind of documented it. Yeah, over the last 5 years going on, maybe a little bit more now, 6 years going on, that I really first started getting into pedal boards. More cowbell. That's for real. And I really got into having because I really was, a guitar straight into the amp and get your gain out of the amp kind of thing, and miking that. Sure, I did a lot of stuff post of a guitar session or bass session where I would do things, in Studio One to that sound. But I began to like it a lot better when I got my sounds captured direct. It was what it was. I was happy with it, and I wasn't messing with it later. Because later on, when you start messing with things, Yeah, it can go good, but it can go really bad. You can end up, messing up something. You know, there are ways of getting around that, but the reality is, uh, you know, in this environment that I work in, it's better to try to just work with the sound and get it to tape the way that you want it. So with this pedal board, I really felt that I was where I was at, and then I started looking at the Hall of Fame because it's a buffer pedal. Most of the reverb and modulation effect pedals are going to be buffered pedals. In other words, they're going to have something to shoot that signal through to wherever it's going. Hi, Mike from Ohio. Glad you're doing well. Harley Benton. Oh boy, yeah, we're going to talk about Harley Benton here in a minute. But getting back to this pedal board, I was doing that regular content show, and I was doing a lot of research. I researched a lot of things, and that's when I really nailed down what the Hall of Fame could do, being a switchable true bypass to buffered pedal, which I wish all pedals did that. That's actually pretty nice. Ohio, I'm just outside Cleveland, just outside of Cleveland. I've never been to Ohio. I gotta imagine it's gotta be pretty cold there right now. Probably colder than here. So keep warm, keep safe, keep warm. Yeah, dig that. So I was looking at other buffered pedals because I was researching the Fender that eventually ended up getting. But I came across the Zoom multi effect pedal, the 50G. Heck yeah, I'm at my son best. Yeah, awesome. The Zoom multi pedal. It's a little pedal. It's about that big, but it's a modeling pedal. Hey, Mike, how are you from New York City? Yes, yes, yes. Oh, 48, was that 48? Yeah, 48. That's not bad. That's about, yeah, that's not bad. Okay. It ain't great, but it's not bad. It could be worse than 36 or worse. I've been in sometimes. I remember I was in Korea one time, and that was in the around 97 or so, the first time I went to Korea. And that wind hit me for the first time, and I grew up in California, so I would go up to Mammoth Lakes, I go skiing up there, Big Bear, and so I knew snow, I knew cold, but that was an education in cold for me. I really learned myself a lesson on wind chill in Korea back in the day, and it never changed. It's still cold there. Yeah. Anyway, we have 3 degrees in New York City yesterday, and before it dropped, yeah, man, New York, I'm here is getting hit hard. Back in Japan, they're getting a lot of snow as well. I'm hearing. So yeah, man, it's cold. It's gonna be a cold winter this year, but we're getting there. We're in February, where actually is the worst part. We'll make it. Um, so I was looking at that Zoom pedal. It's the 50G. It's the multi stomp, I guess it is, pedal. It is a modeling pedal that they've shrunk down to roughly the size of, actually, not even roughly, it's approximately the size of this Nobles pedal. And so it's a modeling pedal, but it fits on your pedal board. And I've always been a fan of Zoom. For the guitar solo for my song, The Sower, I actually used a very, very, very early multi effects Zoom pedal. And got a great tone out of that. I mean, out of that song. And so I played it here to you guys, that solo I did before. So I'm a believer in Zoom. I think they have some great sounds. But this thing, I was thinking about putting in the place of the Hall of Fame, actually. And again, like I said, pedals are hell because I'm not saying that I'm not happy with the Hall of Fame. It's got, like I said, it's got true bypass on it or buffered, your choice. I like the sounds of the halls on it. It's very controllable. It's a great pedal, and it's on the pedal board of a lot of pros, so that'll tell you something. But that Zoom pedal sounds fascinating to me because it's got multiple effects built into it, and it's also a buffer pedal, like I said, so I wouldn't be losing anything there. And to be able to take a tape uh, delay effect and then put that in front of a spring reverb and have that all going, and having the ability to do that kind of chains of modeled effects, sounds, I think is an interesting premise to me because it gives me more flexibility on my pedal board. And so, yeah, but that's why I say pedals are hell because even when you're happy. So now I'm happy with everything, but I'm now reconsidering my Hall of Fame because there's more flexibility with that Zoom pedal. So it never ends. Fortunately, with pedals are cheap. The Zoom pedal that I'm talking about can be had for under $100. It's like 99 bucks. And again, like I said, pedals are very flippable items. Not flippable in the sense you're buying, you're trying to get a profit off of it, but they are things that if you're doing it locally at a shop or something like that, you can trade in. And I do that, as you guys know. Again, that's how I got the Fender pedal is by doing a swap with a local shop on my Charlie Brown by JHS. So pedals offer a lot of, guitars, of course, but guitars gets a little bit more tricky, and you got to put it in a case, you got to walk down to the store, you got to mail it or ship it off, and things like that. We'll hit on those points later when we talk about Harley Benton's. But it really offers the flexibility. It's something you could literally almost put in your, if you got a big enough coat, you could literally put it in your pocket and do that kind of thing, that kind of swapping with local stores or online. Like I said before, there's a lot of people that are willing to do that kind of thing, and you can avoid reverb too. You don't have to put it up necessarily on reverb. So they offer that. So it's not such a bad addiction. I guess I'm trying to give excuses here in front of you guys as to why I justify my pedal addiction. Yeah, considering flipping a Gibson, but still on the fence. I hear you. Yeah, it's got to be the right ones. Anything above $100 value, you maybe even slightly lower than that. Those you can do something with that. You may not get all your money back if you try to just swap it for cash. But if you're trying to swap it for other pedals, you can sometimes be surprised what people are willing to do. Depends upon how many of the ones that you want to swap it for they have. So there's a lot of that plays into that. So something to think about. It's what I do, and it's probably what I'm going to end up doing. I'm not going to get rid of the Hall of Fame. I'm not because it's a great pedal, and it's up here for the pedal Hall of Fame, and down here in this box. Now, it's a keeper. But I would like to experiment with that Zoom pedal. What is it called? It's called the MS50G. The MS50G, if you guys want to look that up and see what you think about it. So for 99 bucks, that's something I'm going to do. So you can look forward to me reviewing that here shortly when I find the time to place the order for it. Yeah. All right. How is everybody doing out there? Here's a question I never asked. What is everybody drinking out there? I'm drinking pear juice. As a matter of fact, most evenings when I do the live stream, if I'm drinking something, I'm drinking juice of some sort, either strawberry or pear. I don't drink a lot of coffee or tea, and honestly, I'm not much one for alcohol either. Beer, interestingly enough, is something I never was much of a drinker. I was probably one of the only guys who belonged to a fraternity that never drank. Earl Grey tea tonight. Oh, there you go. Earl Grey. Well, like Picard. Hey, man, in good company. Good to see you, too. Water is good. Water is always good. I'm getting older. I always drink a lot of water anyway, and I've been fortunate also to live around the world because I've had access to a lot of really good quality water. You know, couldn't tell by looking at my face, but but it does help. Particularly the onsens in Japan. I have to tell you, of all the things in all my travels that I often miss on some days where I really strongly think about it, that's the onsens, the hot water baths, spring baths. Hot comes up from the earth. Some of them. Hot cocoa. Hot cocos. I used to be able to drink hot cocoa, but ever since I developed this nervous system issue, for some reason, cocoa is a trigger, so I can't have any more chocolate. And I live in Europe. That is sad to live in Europe and not be able to have chocolate anymore. Too much of a stimulant. Sounds good, guys. All sounds healthy. So Harley Benton's. So that's my main topic tonight. And let me see. Let me reach over here. You know, it's funny. Last week, that's rough. Sorry. No, it's all right, man. I haven't. And I'll tell you guys, in Bangkok at a hotel, I can't think of the name of it. Whenever I was in Bangkok and I had the time, I would go to it because they had a chocolate bar. Now, a real chocolate bar. Chocolate cakes, chocolate cookies, pies. They had a guy there, a sous chef, and all he did was make hot cocoa. And he made it in a way that it's really it was legit. It was like you've never experienced before. So I've indulged in chocolate in my life. I won't miss it. I will think I do. That also puts me in mind of the first time I went to Japan. Do you want sweets or sweets? Yeah. Uh, that's a funny story. So, as any other American growing up, Hershey's chocolate, was pretty much, well, the chocolate that you ate on a day-to-day basis. In LA, you go to C's Candies, and you could have that. That was, a higher step up, but that was like, Easter and Christmas. Yeah, so it's mostly Hershey's chocolate. Man, when I got to Japan, I went to the convenience store. This is 95, winter of 95. And I saw the Meiji chocolate. Meiji is a very popular chocolate brand there in Japan. And I bought a chocolate bar. I was like, oh, let me give a Japanese chocolate a try. You know, that was the first of many moments in my life where it dawned upon me how sad of an existence I had been living up until that point. Because that Japanese Meiji chocolate blew Hershey's or any other thing I had up to that point, out of the water. It really was. Oh, okay, that's what a chocolate bar tastes like. So now I've had my experiences with chocolate. I'm not sad about it. I have my memories. It's not such a bad thing. So Harley Benton's. Guys, I got my Harley Benton here. This is the What's this? When I worked in UK for Hillphone, the chocolate was so rich and good. Yeah, yeah. All of it. And the stuff I had when I lived in UK was good. Especially the powdered hot cocos there. Man, they really put their foot in those. Those are good. And yeah, I didn't think about drinking a lot of hot cocoa in Singapore. Wasn't really a big thought on my head. So I've got my Harley Benton here. Last week, one of the questions that came in is if you were to recommend a Harley Benton, not a Fender, not an Epiphone, a Harley Benton, which one would you recommend? And I said I can only go off the ones that I own, and I own the Double Cut Custom. So this is the Harley Benton Double Cut Custom. It is their take, of course, on an SG style guitar, with the exception that you can see here, they've changed the tone and a volume control section, and it has push-pull on it. So really, my one and only Harley, I've got the bass here behind my shoulder, but really my one and only true Harley Benton guitar, and the only one that I'm ever going to buy. And I have my reasons behind that. I started to get into that last week, and I thought I would get it a little bit more detailed But first, let me say that I really like this guitar. I use this guitar for recording some of the songs, the stuff that I worked on here on the album that I just completed late last year. That, by the way, guys, uh, I'm still working. I'm actually in the process for the last 2 weeks of mastering that. It's been a slow process because I've been doing a lot of other things, but anyway, that's where that's at. But I used it on some of the tracks, and it is an awesome guitar. And really glad that I got it. What I did was I took out the Wilkerson pickups, I believe were in there, and I put in these custom wound pickups that I ordered from my guy Q Pickups in Croatia. Q Pickups is a custom winder. They'll make whatever you ask them to make. They have their own, stuff that they do that you can pick from. But if there's something that you want, they can do it. I wanted an Alnico 3 pickups, um, in the 7 point range. Did you replace the tuners? Yeah, I'll get to that. Give me one moment. I'm trying to stretch my memory on what the. Anyway, these are Alnico 3s. These are based loosely on the Maxon pickups, like the Super 70s. I owned a set of those in my Greco guitar, and when I played them, the different guitars, but when I played them, these were really in the ballpark of the originals. So I wanted another set of those for this guitar. Yes, I did change the tuner. So these are actually Gibson branded Clusons. So these are actual Gibson Cluson tuners that I put on here. I like Cluson tuners on all my guitars, of course, with the exception of Telecaster. But for Les Paul style guitars, I only use Cluson tuners. I always swap out tuners. You'll never see a guitar of mine with anything other than Clusons. And so, yeah, I did that. An aesthetic thing, of course, because it just looked better that way. The cost of these pickups was around $250. I believe the cost of these are around $80, the tuners. Uh, so, all right, there's 300, let's just round it up to 350 bucks worth of mods that I did to this guitar that I paid less than $200 for. So, um, you know, why would I do that? Well, first of all, the mods that I made to this guitar are removable. I didn't do anything to the wiring other than clean it up, have it, cleaned up. I didn't do anything to change any of the pots or caps on it. I just left it stock. Or the tailpiece or anything like that. Well, of course that's removable too. But I didn't put in a bone nut. As you know, generally my keeper guitars, they always get a bone nut. This one, if you will note, absolutely does not have a bone nut. I don't know. I think that's a Graph Tech neck, maybe, possibly. It's okay. It works. It keeps, and this guitar I can put in the case. I can leave it for weeks and just let it sit, which it did. And then when I took it out of the case, it was still in tune. So dig that. So a great guitar. I didn't do anything to it that would not be able to be removed later on. Those pickups in this guitar will eventually go in a higher quality guitar when one shows up that I deem worthy for them. And of course, if that guitar does not have a Cluson style tuners on it, Cluson or good, what I deem good enough Cluson tuners on it, then there will be a tuner swap there as well as a pickup swap. And that's where these parts will move on to. Now, why is that? Well, the reason is that honestly speaking, Harley Bentons are fantastic guitars, but they have a couple of issues that are kind of obvious. And the first one is you know, I always go off on the premise of selling things, but let's put that aside for a moment. Let's say that I have a light touch. Let's start from there. I have a very extremely light touch. You know, I don't think that I would ever need to have a fret job done on any of my guitars. I've never, some guys, or anecdotally, stories that I read, some guys have to go to their Luther. Or Fern was telling me about some guy who had to get his done every few months. He had to get a refret on his guitar. And for me, that's not going to be a concern. I really have a light touch. I'm just one of those players that I just, I don't wear down frets. It just, I sweat a lot. That's a different issue. I go through a lot of strings because I sweat so much. And of course, they build up a bit of wear and tear and finger glue and whatnot. And I got to swap strings a lot. Frets, no. I've never had to do a refret on a guitar, and I've always been very careful if I was buying used to get one that had a good frets on it already. You should have been touring and beating on the guitar for a great. Well, yeah, I even touring. So when I was with my band in Japan, with my Fender Japan Telecaster, Monica Butterscotch, um, yeah, I was playing that thing a lot. Not just that, but then rehearsals and then studios stuff that I was doing. Refret job. Yeah, yeah, I got you. I got you, Meanie. I got you. And beat it up pretty good. And those frets was just as shiny as the day that I bought it. It's just one of those things, and it differs from guitars to guitars. So this first little ding against Harley Benz is not for is this is going to apply to everybody. But say you are a guy, you bought this guitar, and it comes time to do a refret. Well, a refret is about $200 on up, and I just don't see myself spending the money to do a refret that cost equivalent, or even in this case, I got this 2 years ago, so I don't know what they are now, or even a little bit more than the cost of the guitar that you're buying. That's the first thing, because you know. For that guy, I guess that Fern was talking about that comes in, you're looking at a Gibson, and you're looking at a Gibson, an '80s Gibson or something like that, which has a value to it, that would, if he's touring and if he's really playing like I understand him to be, then of course that's something that you want to do to that instrument, because it's part of the wear and tear on your. If you're a carpenter, your saw is going to wear down. You got to buy a new saw. So there's things like that come through that. However, if you're a carpenter and you're using a play set, that's a bad analogy. Well, actually, that's not bad. But you see where I'm getting. Some Harley Benz I work with had very solid, yeah, and that's the thing too. I was going to lead to that because um, the fret wire that these guitars use is typically a very soft, malleable, and not the best. I'm trying to upgrade an old sound guitar from late '90s made in Korea, and it's great. Yeah, well, again, we're dealing with Harley Benz. The Koreans and the made in Japans, those were made to a whole different spec. These were specced out where Harley Benton said, "Hey, I've got this guitar that I want to make. This is how much I want to spend for it. You got to source me this, you got to source me this, you got to source me this. Can you do this?" And they say, okay, whether or not they can do it. And of course, they got to make their money too. So yeah, it's going to be cheap fret wire on across the board on your Harley Bentons. Man, I don't know an American guitar guys. I had Epiphones that didn't last, but Harley Benton's hard for me to wrap my head around the hype. So tool doesn't last upgrade if it does you. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. But I'm just saying that there are some tools that you can upgrade. You got a Samick, very cool, yeah. Yeah, Samick's are great guitars. What I'm saying, guys and ladies, if any out there, I know there is. I feel that tools, sure, they are tools, and that's where we're looking at this. We're just purely looking at it as a tool tonight. And I really feel that Harley Benton is not a tool that is going to uh, benefit from that kind of reinvestment into it. So that's a little thing about Harley Benton. And again, this is not going to go everybody, but keeping in mind that Harley Bentons do use a very low quality fret wire, and they will wear on you a lot faster than Epiphones. Uh, at a $600 price range, or in my cases, $800, $700, $800 price range, I would do a refret if I had to on it. I would dang sure do a steel refret, steel frets, so that I didn't have to do that again. So I would do something like that. But at 200, sub 200, no, it's not something that I would invest in. So when I bought this guitar and made these changes to it, I kind of had that in mind. This is one of those ones that I know that I didn't even look at it as what if I won? Because I always run that scenario in my head. What if I won? It's just, hey, it's just me. Some people do, some people don't. But I always think to myself and I on, is this something that I can move later on? When I bought this, I automatically knew it was my guitar, and that's it. Just go to Reverb and look at the resale of people trying to sell Harley Benton's even themselves, and they're just not moving. So that's my only thing that I'm going to sell about that. And the only gripe that I have, you've got to really love your Harley Benton to spend a lot of money. It resales very low. Yes, that's my point exactly. Putting that aside, again, like I said, I don't want to put the sales point as because that's kind of like a no brainer there, as it is with some headphones as well, has been pointed out to me recently. The other thing is, okay, so you do find a buyer for it and you have to ship it. Have you checked the shipping prices for shipping even within state uh, for a guitar? Uh, Shipping from Ohio to New York, how much is that going to cost you? And really, I bet you that shipping rate is going to be equivalent or maybe even a little bit more than the cost of your item. That happened to me. I was selling I wasn't selling, I think I've told you that I wanted my brother in Utah to send me one of my vintage greenbacks that he was holding for me. And come to find out, the shipping on it was $400 from Utah to here. And that wasn't even including the VAT that I would get charged when it arrives. So, yeah, from shipping standpoint, if you want to sell it, is it even worth shipping? The shipping cost. So that's the other thing about Harley Benton's that it's kind of a ding. Um, Now mods again are like I've done are great. If I were to take this, you nailed it, Gibson Garage from Metro. To me, I can ship to Amsterdam at the moment. Post office has been hacked by Russians. Yeah, yeah, dude. I heard about what's going on in the UK in the post office. I'm sorry, actually, to hear about that's just a mess. Whatever was the cause of it, them Russians are awfully busy. That's all I gotta say about that. Yeah, yeah. In other words, nah. Something else. But yeah, dig that. The shipping cost. Mods again, like I said, I've done these, but these are removable. The pickups are far more valuable than the guitar itself to me, to be frank. But as a tool, as it stands right now, it's an awesome tool. But I cannot then take these mods, and this is across the board, even on Gibsons. This is across the board on any guitar. Any mods that you make to it, when you go get to sell it, you've lost those mods. Sub 200, buy some fret wire. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I'm talking about us mere mortals. Because a fret job is a serious piece of work. Once you've been through one or two, it's gravy. But for the mere mortals in the audience that have to go to a Luther to have it done, it is a costly thing. I Yeah, do it yourself. Like I said, I do all my setups, and then of course I take it down to Fern, and he laughs at me. But I do all my setups. Uh, so that's something that you can do as a mere mortal. Yeah, so any mods that you do, anything that you do like that, when you take it down to the shop, you've lost any kind of value you've put in that. So I would say with a Harley Benton, I would only make any modifications to it later on. Not even if I was selling a bit, even if, like I said, in my case, what's going to really, it is going to happen. Something is going to come in through the door, and those parts, my really good parts, are going to go on that guitar, which I hope to be a really great guitar to make it even greater. I love these pickups, but for right now, they're fine, and it's a functional guitar, and it works. But these are things aside. Again, putting this, the resale value. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about even if you want to give it as a gift to a family member, you still got to ship it if they're not in state. And you could, drive down the corner and drop it off, sure. But if I wanted to give a Harley Benton to my nephew and he's in another state, it's not going to be a cheap proposition. Hey, if you want to get the guitar to sound the way you have it in your head, then it's all good. Guitars on tools. That's right. And that's the thing. Little digression here, but my Epiphone 59 last week, I kind of was talking about some of the issues I had about the way it was marketed, but as a tool, and as believe me or not, listen to me or not, put it away or not, and that's going to lead to our third topic tonight. But between that and my Gibson 60s standard, I'm still not sorry that I got rid of the 60s standard because, quite frankly, I have achieved the tone in my head finally, and that I heard out of a humbucker guitar. Telecasters, I got that nailed down, but I found the right guitar, the right pickup combination, the right amps, and the right pedals and everything like that, and it's good. And the worst thing that I could do right now, and which some of you have done, and some of you will do, so maybe this is a cautionary tale, is to something else comes down the line, and I take that guitar and I say, okay, I'll swap it for something else. That would be a mistake on my part because I guarantee you, down the line, even if I got something really cool in exchange, I would still be chasing for that sound again because it's unique to that guitar. There's no other guitar with that pickup combination that's going to do it. Even an identical guitar with the same line, they're all going to be different. For some reason, the clouds parted, and when I took those burst buckers up, which you would think is counterintuitive, but I took those burst buckers out of that guitar and I put those Epiphone Pro classics in, and it was the tone. Don't know if it's that particular set of Epiphone pickups. I've had some great ones, some not so great ones. The ones that I've had in the past were not so great, but these were better, in my opinion, than the burst buckers. It's true. Burst buckers are sitting right here in an envelope on the floor here, and until I find something to put those into too. See how that goes? There's always a future project, but there's always pieces laying around, hopefully, to do that cheaply. That's the ticket right there is when you find all the combination that works for you. Yeah. And that's not an easy process. And so the worst thing that I could do, and a lot of you, you know what I'm talking about, is talk yourself out of a good sound. It wasn't a Gibson. It wasn't a Gibson. It ended up being that Epiphone 59 that gave me that tone. Could I go out there, and I've had Gibsons, as you guys know, plenty of them, lots of them, owned a lot of Gibsons. Probably more than I think any sane man should. But it ended up being that Epiphone. So go figure. I'm on both Gibson and Harley Benton. Would you agree that Harley Benton, some of its parts are not great? YouTube's act like they're the greatest things. Of course they had to do that. You have to, YouTube is it's a carnival. It's P.T. Barnum. It's a circus. And in that circus, the responsibility of any responsible ringmaster is to get your attention. And everything that comes out of the pike is going to be the best thing since sliced bread. And it's the same thing like if you go to Japan and you watch the food channels and you watch the shows going to restaurants, everything is oishi. That's why I dig my God honesty. Yeah. Everything is oishi. Oishi means delicious. I mean, everything, man. I don't care what it is. Any show you watch, everything is a oh my, or oishi. Or there's never anything like this is crap. So YouTube is like this, like Japanese TV, man. Everything's great. It ain't. Some of it is. I'd like to believe some of it. I mean, it just depends upon what you're into. So yeah, it's circus. They gotta say those things, and yeah, it's only as good as some of its parts, which leads to our third topic tonight, which I don't believe that I have to have this conversation again, but the Harley Benton thing leads into it is disinformation. Wood disinformation. Um, yeah, the sum of its parts, a Harley Benton guitar is going to be, and like I said, it's going to be sourced at a certain price point. An Epiphone is going to be sourced at a certain price point, and a Gibson is going to be sourced at a certain price point, and then mark the hell up. But one of the things that makes that possible, and actually one of the things I'm not into, that I'm actually against, uh, you'll be interested to know, is the wood and how that wood is sourced, where it comes from, the quality of the wood, the different types of wood, how there's a difference between an African mahogany and an Asian mahogany, and the density of those woods, the resonance of those woods, and things of that nature. Now, as you know, I'm a strong believer that the pickups uh, going through a good guitar, but the pickups going through a good amp with a good speaker is really going to be the starting point in defining what your tone is. I'm not a tone wood buyer per se. I'm a believer. I do believe that there are certain guitars that have formulas to them to make the tones of them. For example, a Les Paul needs a mahogany back and a maple top in order to sound a certain way. Sound like that. An SG needs an all mahogany body in order to have its sound. Paul Reed Smith, in my opinion, gave the greatest explanation of why important PR's channel. He felt the wood is the single most important aspect of the guitar. Yeah, I heard that. I mean, I saw that. I saw that too, and I got a lot of respect for that. I just don't know, man. I just don't know. I respect him in his opinion, and yeah, from where he was coming from, you know, it's where I was getting there was from combinations of certain wood. I'm a believer in that. Again, so there is an aspect of where tone is affected by the wood. So there is a part of that, and that's why I've always said it's 80-20. 80% your pickups, your amp and speaker. The other 20%, okay, the wood of the guitar, sure. It's 20% of a few things there, but but the price points are subject to availability of the wood. Um, if there's a particular wood that is requested, whether that's available or not. There's a lot of factors that go into making a Harley Benton, an Epiphone, a Gibson, whatever. And for some reason out there on the internet, uh, this is going to be a 180 here, but there's a lot of negative things said about Harley Benton guitars, uh, in the fact and also some of the Squires guitars as well, and that hits it home because I actually own both, that the woods are not necessarily what you may think they've even been labeled to be. For example, somebody, this just last week on a popular YouTube channel, said that the term nital or neat or no nito, whatever the pronunciation you choose to use on that, which is used in on my Squire 40th anniversary for the body, is the Korean word he said for wood. He said that is just a generic term. Naito is just a generic term for wood. And I said, okay, there is no Korean. It's not even, that's not even a Korean word. Naito. Where are you getting that from? Where did you get that piece of information? Naito is actually Asian mahogany. It's Asian mahogany. It's not an extremely resonant wood. It's less resonant than African mahogany or even some other Asian mahoganies. Again, like I told you, there's a lot of mahoganies out there. However, it is an Asian mahogany. It is so if they say it's Naito, they're telling you it's an Asian mahogany that's being used there. Where these folks get these things from, I don't know. And I wonder, is there an agenda there? Harley, but they're just, a lot of the major YouTube channels really knock hard on Harley Benz. It seems sometimes they will bend things, out of the realm of like Naito, which is obviously an Indonesian word, is a Korean word, and because you don't know the difference out there, whatever the thought process is behind those statements, but they are incorrect. They are wrong. And any, due diligence or research will tell you that. I heard that comment on Naito, especially. YouTubers should look it up in the woods. Yeah, he should look it up. It's like, huh? It's like, what? Having lived in images, would you say that it was made you more experienced, accepting of import or the Asian guitar market? Well, yeah, of course. Hey, man, I didn't know whatever they spell is totally fine. Most of the listeners have already been using it for years. Yeah. For decades. A lot of the chord guitars that I was playing, basswood and Naito. Japanese were using basswood, the Indonesians were using Naito. It's just something that they use. Hey, hello, greetings. Yeah, man, so I heard that and, kind of blew my mind a little bit because, okay. You buy that Harley Benton, was what I've been trying to tell you tonight, and you're going to be sleeping with it because it's not going anywhere, which is all right. That's fine. It's all right with me. It's the reason I chose this one because, quite frankly, it's pretty freaking cool. And I'm not going to wear down the frets on it. And even when I swap parts on it, put its original tuners back in and put in another, whatever that guitar that's coming in, I'm swapping pickups into it, it'll still be usable. And I may pull it out from time to time. There's a joke there, but I'll leave it alone. I remember hearing that in this past week or two, but I watched so many guitar reviews, I forget who are, yeah, I'm not going to say who's, that's not important. It's the point is that this kind of disinformation gets out there, and it's weird to me, this hatred towards Harley Benz. I just tore through them about the worst that I can tonight, with the the negative things. You're not going to want to refret them. That's too expensive. If you want to give it to a friend or ship it somewhere, it's going to cost more to ship it. All the things that I went through there. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you, well, it's made out of Naito, and I have no idea what that is. I see folks trash basswood, then they play music. I'm serious. Exactly. The only woods I've ever in the 70s have been used. I don't know what they call it. They don't even. Yeah, man. You know, to get back to that question about living in Asia and import guitars, yeah, because I was surrounded by them. They were awesome guitars that people want now. Basswood is great. My Monica Butterscotch is a basswood Fender guitar. It's what they used on the lower end Fender Telecasters and Strats. It was basswood. I used that thing and toured with it, played it, and I never thought about it. I never sit there and say, well, sounds great, but oh, gee, it's night though. It's just I don't, I don't have that kind of thinking, man, because what I'm thinking is, okay, those drums at that part don't work. I'm on a completely different level. Everybody here love bass wood. Newland guitars, sin is ash, very hard ash. Yeah. Sin, hard ash. Yeah. That's right, ash. That ash is another wood too. That's popular. That's used. So no, those were awesome guitars. No, I was spoiled, and I recognize the quality, especially the Japanese Epiphones. And as I've said before, I'm sad that I didn't. With my lifestyle, very difficult to do. But try to buy and hold on to retain those, because they're to this day they're regarded in high regard. So yeah, there's that, man. But this disinformation against Harley Benz, I don't get it. I really don't. And I thought, well, yeah. Yeah. So this disinformation, this kind of vehemence towards. There's one guy's also a popular channel. They actually have a shop, and guy says, "Oh, I've never played a Harley Benton. I'll never touch a Harley Benton, and I'll never allow one in my shop." Like, okay, okay. What's the difference between that and those Epiphone, player kits, those beginner kits? I don't know. They're made in the same places. I don't understand where the distinction is drawn there. I don't understand where a lot of people draw their distinctions on things, but then that's just me. I'm not thinking about what the guitar is made of anyway. But honestly speaking, no, Naito is not the greatest. It's great for making furniture and guitars. Who's thinking about wood when they're playing on touring? Uh, yeah. Just thinking about it. Guys, I really try to edit myself. This, because I had so many vulgar things that pop into my head. In that case, I say, well, the girls know. Now, anyway, yeah, the groupies, I suppose, would be caring about wood, but other than that, I can't think of anybody who would give a crap. That's in their right mind, and that's why, like I said, getting back to the YouTube thing, where everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. You guys know that song. Um, Bullshit. I'll tell you something about this Fender pedal here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Is that visible? Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys see that light on this thing? This light is blinding. That's the one takeaway of this pedal that I can say to you that they don't ever talk about. They've got this LED, which, by the way, these two pedal knob LEDs, there's a switch here on the back where you can switch them on and off, but it doesn't turn off this front LED, which, by the way, they can see this on on the freaking space station. This thing is so bright. It's like, that's not great. That is the one thing about this pedal that I am not impressed with. I'm not happy about. And that is a bright ass LED on it. I don't know what the purpose of it is. I really don't. And if I was in a live situation and I wanted to dim the lights down and do like one of my songs, like I used to do, Strolling in the Moonlight, that would annoy the crap out of me. So I'm not here, you'll never hear that. Nobody ever talks about that when you see this high-end art program is based on saying, oh, you guys are having discussion on your own. That's groovy. I like the Aria guitars, if I can jump in on you guys' conversation. Never mind me. I'm just kidding. I like the Aria guitars. My good friend, Drake Gooseby, he, from back in the day, high school friend, he loved Aria guitars. He had a couple of them. Awesome. But yeah, that's something that you would never hear on a you. So YouTube, yeah, you know, you have to take those things and really do your own digging and sometimes find out for yourself. How's that fender line driver working out? It's working out fantastic. I have to tell you that, as I've said, and check out, I did a video. So there is a regular content video that I did this week discussing this pedal in detail, a little bit more, the pedal board in general in detail. It's awesome, guys. Other than this really bright ass LED on it, which is the only thing that I don't like. Other than that, I can honestly tell you that I don't know how I did without this. It really has made that much of a significant sonic difference on this ampless rig. So much so, and I love this ampless rig because the way that I have it set up, I can take this thing, I can pick it up, take it in the next room, plug it in, plug my guitar in, plug my headphones here into the cab Zeus, and I can sit there on my couch and wail over. This thing is completely portable. It's silent. I like what I've done here with this, but adding this Fender level set buffer really made a difference. I don't know if it'll work for you guys on your board if you're even interested in something like that, but I can recommend it. I highly recommend it. As a matter of fact, it's another one of those things like the Cab Zeus that are they're never going anywhere off my board. It's night and day. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, getting back to wood. Yeah, man, dig that. So there's this information about Harley Benton's, this general kind of negative among the major YouTubers that I see is interesting to. It's fascinating to me. And a lot of these guys, I really wonder, well, have you owned a Harley Benton? Have you played them? You know, for the sum of its parts. And you know, the other reason I chose this one is because it's pretty basic. You know, as any good SG is just going to be a mahogany neck and body, and it's kind of hard to mess that up, just like a Telecaster. That's what she said. There you go. Now you guys are on my page. But for the sum of it, and for a sub $200 guitar, if any layman, if any ordinary person who didn't know much about guitars or anything like that picked this up in the shop, they would think that it was a quality guitar because, honestly speaking, I will say this, uh, even with the Gibsons, I've had, you know, bleed problems of the binding with the Epiphone. I gotta have that a little bit right here on my 59. This guitar was flawless. I will say that much about it. Out of the box. The only thing I didn't like were the sharp edges on the frets. So I had Fern work on those. So now I've got them to where they're slightly a little bit more rolled. And I like it feels great. And so, but I have no illusions about this guitar. You know, this is mine. It'll always be with me unless I physically give it to somebody, which is the last thing that I want to talk about tonight is, so what is another thing that you could do? We're done with the wood discussion. I just wanted to bring that up, is that don't believe that, guys. Um, you know, Naito is Asian mahogany. And anybody who will go on YouTube and make those kind of statements, especially with such an air of certainty, is certainly somebody that you're going to have to really take a closer look at everything they say with a grain of salt, because it only takes 5 minutes to look at. It doesn't even take 5 minutes. Hell, if you got a smartphone, it takes 2 seconds. What's the Korean word for wood? It ain't Naito. You know, and you know, if I came on here and said something like that to you guys, not only would I hope that you know, you guys are smart, you call me out, somebody would call me out, several people call me out, but also, you know, I'd look like an idiot to say something like that, and that's just the way it is. There's no other way of spelling it. But it's not just him. There's a lot of guys out there in YouTube land who have you know, and then of course it leads into everybody who does say something about positive about Harley Benton's, then you're kind of labeled as a Harley Benton shill. Now there are Harley Benton shills out there, There's a certain guy who's from Germany. Harley Benton can get away with a lot. Imports come a long way, yeah. Who lives in Germany, who I know is a Harley Benton shill because they send him literally his entire studio is full of Harley Benton gear that he's gotten from them. So if you look around, that guy's got more than one or two Harley Benton pieces of guitars sitting around. And then you might have a shill there, but you're kind of labeled into that group. You're just shilling for them. You must have got that for free or something. No, no, I bought it myself, and I've played it and I've used it. Henning, yeah, yeah. Anyway, I don't name names. I think there's you guys out there know who these people are. I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about, and you've had similar thoughts yourselves. I'm just kind of pointing it out because it irritates me slightly. I don't like to hear, they got enough problems. Yeah, they are what they are, and they are what they are, and I I don't think that they're beginner guitars. I've said that before. Precisely because if I was a beginner and I got a Harley Benton, when they do have problems, boy, howdy, do they have problems. I don't think a beginner is going to be able, or a mom or a dad who bought that guitar for said beginner, are going to have any idea what to do, and that's not good. That's why you'd want to get a better quality Epiphone, which and Gibson, and they're going to have their problems too, but not to the level of a Harley Benton. Not sure if you saw my comment, but a lot of issues with Harley Benton is the ripoff of IP. That's mine. Yeah, that's true. It's all sales channel now. It's so annoying. Yeah, it's all sales channel now. And I don't know why, because I don't think you get. If we're talking about YouTube, I don't understand that either. There are things Harley Benton have done that's probably made their image a bit tainted, but their products are decent. Never touched one. Yeah, I have a Harley Benton bass comp pedal here. A little dusty. Excuse me. It gets dusty as hell of it. I have to dust in here literally every day, and I got a feather duster that I go through with there. It's a little like all I need is a French maid costume, and I'm set. Yeah, this Harley Benton bass expander. If you want to, I've said it before for bass recording. This is really, and of course, using the Cab Zeus with this as the bass because this bass cabinets on it as well. Speakers. Yeah, it's a great product. I recommend it. I own it. And if you guys are looking for a bass DI, that's awesome. And I've owned a few from ranging up to $500, $600 for that. What was that? Something I had, all the way down to something like this. I'd say go for this. So yeah, they make good products because they're rebranding other people's products. Like, as you know, this is also Harley Benton, but this is their take on the Joyo. All they did was take Joyo out from here and they put Harley Benton instead. This is a Joyo pedal. So they do things like that in order to cut down for cost as well. They just pay to get that kind of branding on certain things. But and where they're sourcing, how those things are created, all of that. Yeah, there's some dubious things going on there, but still, in all, there's dubious things going on with every company at some point in their lives. Unfortunately, it's the nature of things in that regard, and it's one of the reasons why I strongly believe in secondhand guitars. Recently, after some thought and thinking and soul searching, I've come to the conclusion that I'm probably never ever going to buy this. This 335 is probably the last new guitar that I'm going to buy. I used to generally buy used guitars anyway, all the time. So I can't see myself buying a new guitar again because, the amount of wood, one thing that was pointed out with that gentleman I'm talking about, and a very valid and a good point, so don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater necessarily, is that the truckloads of wood that are used in order to produce guitars daily. And I just believe that there's enough guitars out there on the secondary market to make anybody happy. And of course, these guitar manufacturers, if they stop producing, they're going to go out of business. So it's a vicious cycle. But I myself, one of the things that I feel that I could do to at least make a difference is from now on just to buy secondhand. And as you guys know, um, secondhand, Japanese secondhand, in my opinion, is as good as new. So that's a place that, again, I'll be looking at buying guitars at down the line. But if you do have a guitar like this Harley Benton sitting around, and it doesn't need a fret job, by the way, one positive thing that I'll end tonight with is to say you can donate it. There's always something that you can do. Use is the way to go as long as you know what you're looking for. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to know what you're looking for. And again, that's research. We got these things. They're smartphones. Be smart when you use it. Don't be that idiot who has more computing technology in the palm of your hand. The guys at NASA back in the 60s would have loved to have something like this. Research capabilities. You can look up anything. The limits of your smartphone. Hey, thank you. Thank you. God bless. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. The limits of this really is the limits of how smart you are. It should be called a "How Smart Are You" phone. But just looking things up is what I'm trying to say. Do your research, look things up. Always look things. Don't believe me, even when I tell you that this Fender level set buffer, which by the way, I'm gonna turn this off, man, because that light is blinding me. I feel like I've got myself in the approach lane of a 747 with that thing on. The price difference of used guitars and guitar center is not too discounted from the new price of me. Because yes, that's what's going on, right? That's right now. I told you the great evening is coming. I understand that there's a lot of guys out there, and all of this is a result of what happened during COVID. It threw everything out of kilter. Everything is messed up. It's Alice in Wonderland world out there. And when you have, used guitars that people are asking new prices for, well, the Guitar Center is a whole nother subject right now. Yeah, I know, but just to address it, something's not quite right there. So that situation will not last. But yeah, to close this out on you guys, you could donate that Harley Benton guitar. It is, and I don't buy from Guitar Center. Yeah. Yeah, I stopped. The guys at the Hollywood Guitar Center in LA when I was in town, that's the one that I've been going to since the 80s. And the last time I went in there and I was talking about a certain mic, and I said, I know this is this, but you could use this mic as a bass drum. I was using it in my kick, to put inside my kick drum, and the guy was just a jerk. Guitar Center is a whole different topic. The guy working there, he was like, do you do that often? Is that something It's like, you know what, dude, I'm just talking to you, trying to shoot the breaks because you asked, and you're being a dick, and you're kind of worthless, So that kind of turned me off of Guitar Center. But yeah, getting back to giving things away, you can donate it. I've donated a lot of guitars, and I felt good about it every time that I did it. There's certainly in every community some community center, some music school, somewhere that you, with a little bit of time in your smartphone, could look up and can find to donate that Harley Benton or whatever guitar that you want to and give it away. So Harley Benton's, if I'm a student, like, these students that I gave the guitar to recently here, these Ukrainian kids who are displaced because of war, man, they're not going to sit there and oh, there goes my light. They're not going to sit there and take this guitar and be like, well, I really appreciate it, but it's made from Naito. And, I kind of hear that that's like the Korean word for wood, so God knows what it actually is. They're not going to do that. They're not going to have that. They're going to say, awesome guitar. They're going to say, Los Ladonia, thank you. They're going to be happy for receiving that. And so that's something that I thought I always like to end on a positive note. And I wasn't really dumping on Harley Benton. I was discussing them a little bit more than I normally do tonight. But one of the things that you can always do with any guitar when it's reached its end, or if you're moving on, is to donate it. Not a fan of Guitar Center, horrible business. Yeah, I'm not either. Like I said, it used to be, it's just like everything else. It used to be great, not so great anymore. You know what's great? And I'll find out when I get to LA is In-N-Out Burger. That thing always is good. Over the years that I've been going to In-N-Out, I've never been disappointed. Guitar Center, hell yeah. Burgers, hamburgers, guitars, yeah. But I can't. When I get to LA, I'll go to In-N-Out way before I went to Guitar Center. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, donate. So that's something you can do with any used guitar. But tonight we're talking about those Harley Bentons. Don't give the ones that if you're a fret wearer downer, don't donate your wore down fret guitar. But if you're like me, and when something like this can be done, Guitars for Vets Guitars for Vets. There you go, right there. I couldn't think of a more worthy and honorable thing to do. And that's probably where this Harley Benton double cut will end up eventually, in the hands of somebody that I will donate it to. I'll put the original tuners on. I'll put a good set of pickups. It'll be good to play, and nobody will complain because they'll say this is awesome, and they'll be happy about it, and you'll feel good about it too. And also, you're helping the environment in this case. I really am concerned. I think that using a busload of wood per shift every day to make guitars, or in the case of the factories in Indonesia, using 5 or 6, I said busloads, I meant tractor loads of wood a day. That's not right. So something to think about. Donating, buying secondhand guitars. These are things that you can do to keep things positive and to play it forward. So just a suggestion there. Yeah, there we are. All done for the evening. What do we got here? We got 18 people watching, but we've got 5 likes. We've got 18 here. Let me get my calculator out here. So I'm gonna hit those likes, guys. Let me see those likes. Basically, donating. Yeah, that's great info. That's a good one. That's a great place that you can donate to if you're in the States. That's a great idea. There's always some places. There's always some place. There's always somebody, man. And so do that. Be that guy. Be that girl. Be that person. And think along those lines. That's a worthy thing that you can do with these Harley Benz. And like I said, the kids or vets or whoever they end up with, trust me, they're not going to be having discussions about tonewood. It's just, it's insane, It's like these people that I hear who protesting about some of the oddest things. And I think to myself, boy, oh boy, if war breaks out and you got a tank, rolling up your ass, this subject is really not going to seem that important at that point, is it? You really need to, reprioritize the things that you're concerned about is the point of that. And Tonewoods ain't one of them with me. It's not. It's not. It's just not. As I pointed out in the beginning of this, I'm a pedal freak. Therein lays a discussion, but Tonewoods, not so much, not so much. And it's like fretboards too. People, it's not rosewood, it's laurel. Well, you know what? Guess what? Back in the day, it was a roll of dice is what they had available at the time. If laurel was available at the time, guess what? oh well, it's not, it's a rosewood, fretboard. It's not laurel like the original ones. You understand what I mean? It's just, well, I can feel it. It's more porous. Well, maybe you can, but my gosh, how sensitive are your fingers, man? Look, if you sit on, if somebody leaves some change on a chair, can you sit on it and count it up, add it up? how sensitive are you? I don't get into that either. The fretboards, I don't care about that. There are some that I that are bad. God, what is that stuff called? I can't think of it right now. There are some out there that like not rich light, whatever. There's some boards out there that no. But laurel, rosewood, yeah, yeah. Oh, hey, everybody, I just made it pretty late, better late. Bob, you were so late because we're about to close up shop here, but you're way late. I'm glad you came. I'm glad you stuck your nose in the door, took a peek in the door to see what was going on. We're just wrapping it up here. Yeah, so some stuff to think about tonight, guys. Fender marketed Power 4 as exotic back in the day on the custom for yeah. I think that's the other. Yeah, that's the one that I'm not really. I'm not. That's one of the ones that I'm not. But you're splitting hairs, in my opinion, between rosewood and laurel. There are, yeah, obviously there are. But I've seen really light rosewood boards. So have you. I got a rosewood board on a double cut custom that I had, a TV yellow, that was rosewood. It had the worst streaking on it I've ever seen. It's just like, yeah, this is rosewood, but it looks like crap. I'll take a pretty, laurel board over a streak crappy rosewooding day of the week. So, I don't split those kind of hairs either when it comes to those things. Any case, guys, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that, the donation. Thank you so much for the interesting conversation, joining in the conversation tonight. I appreciate your input. I appreciate the things that you guys say. I am listening. So last week the subject was brought up about Epiphones, and I thought I would get a little bit more into that this week. I enjoy listening to jazz guitar. A lot of players play Gibson L5, which rating for the Pine by one, but a lot of person. Yeah, the L4, the L5 Gibsons, my dream guitars, the L5. On YouTube, Brian Seltzer is in some store, and he's playing an L5. I think he plays Ain't Misbehaving or something he plays. And he sings too. We'll need to catch the first half. Yeah, no problem, Noodling. Great show, yeah. Then listen to him playing that L5. That'll sell you on an old Gibson L5 faster than anything. It is a dreamy sound played by a master. And as I've told you before, my favorite guitar player in the world is Brian Seltzer at this moment. And I think he is one of the finest guitar players out there. Just as soon as over my speech sex, yeah, got you there, Bob. Yeah. Anyway, L5, that's a dream guitar. All right, guys, it is time for me to say ayasaminasai. And good night, buenas noches, wherever you guys are out there. And thank you so much for showing up this evening, for your wonderful support. If you haven't watched my regular content programming, I just put one up today talking about the Fender level set buffer. Please watch that, hit the like on that, support me that way, and I will catch you guys next week. Thank you so much. Thank you, Newland, brother. I appreciate you showing up. Good to see you, sir. You guys take care of yourselves, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.